So let's talk about one of the biggest paradoxes in marketing. How do you build trust when you're starting from absolute zero? No followers, no huge audience, just you and a new brand trying to cut through all that noise. We're going to break down a system for engineering that credibility from day one, a method that honestly makes your audience size totally irrelevant.
I mean, this is the question that keeps every founder up at night, right? We're always told success is about building a massive audience, that trust is just a numbers game. But what if that's just wrong? What if the real key isn't the quantity of your followers, but the strategic quality of your proof? This one idea flips the whole growth at all costs mindset on its head. This is about a smarter path, a much more precise, more powerful way to build trust that you can't shake. And there's a name for this path. It's called social proof engineering. This isn't about sitting around waiting for years as an audience slowly, maybe, trickles in. No, this is an active, deliberate system for manufacturing validation right from the get-go. The whole idea is to swap out the raw and, frankly, often meaningless number of followers for the focused quality of your proof. It's about creating these powerful, undeniable signals that scream to your customer, this is safe, this works, and this is for you, even when you have no public track record to point to. Okay, so you might be wondering, why is a system like this not just a nice to have, but an absolute necessity today? Well, it's because we're all swimming in what you could call a crisis of skepticism. Trust is at an all-time low, and your potential customers are more guarded than they have ever been. And that creates a massive wall for anyone trying to launch something new. Let's really dig into the environment we're all facing. I mean, just think about how you act when you're the customer. When you see a new product or new service, what's your first gut reaction? It's probably not just open-armed trust, right? It's doubt. Is this for real? Is it going to work for me? Is this worth my money? Buyers today are incredibly sharp, and their default mode is skepticism. For a new brand, that's the first huge wall you've got to figure out how to climb. So to get over that wall, we turn to a classic principle of human psychology, social proof. It's really just the simple idea that we look to what other people are doing to figure out what we should do. It's a mental shortcut. If you see a huge line outside a restaurant, you just assume the food's got to be good. If a product on Amazon has thousands of 5-star reviews, you figure it's a safe bet. This principle is the #1 tool we're going to use to break down that skepticism. But while we're trying to build that trust, we're also fighting against a really powerful force working against us: loss aversion. Here's the wild thing about our brains. The pain of losing $20 feels about twice as bad as the pleasure of finding $20 feels good. For your customer, that translates into a deep-seated fear of wasting their money, their time, or their energy on something that might not work. So it's not enough to promise them a win, you have to actively remove their fear of a loss. And that brings us to our main job here. We have to provide immediate external safety signals. We need to give that skeptical buyer so much proof that buying from you isn't a risk, but a really smart, validated move. Social proof, when you engineer it the right way, becomes that critical safety net. It's all those other voices chiming in saying, hey, don't worry, people have been here before you and it worked out great. All right, so how do we actually build these safety signals when we're starting with nothing? This brings us to the engine room of social proof engineering, the 4 proof signals. Just think of these as the 4 key parts that when you put them all together, generate real credibility without needing any kind of big audience. At the absolute heart of this whole system is a simple strategic trade-off. We are trading the vanity metric of quantity of followers for the high-impact asset of quality of proof. I'm telling you, one powerful testimonial from the right person, or one data point showing a real result, or one logo from a trusted source, that can be infinitely more powerful than a million followers who might not even be your ideal customer anyway. So let's look at the 4 types of proof that make this happen. Here they are, the big 4. First up, we've got expert proof. Its whole job is to borrow instant authority from someone your audience already knows and trusts. Second, and this one is so important, is relatable peer proof. This one is all about boosting that, hey, I can do this too belief. Third, we have quantified proof. This cuts right through all the vague marketing fluff with cold, hard numbers. And finally, third-party proof, which is basically transferring the trust of a well-known media outlet or an award directly onto your brand. So these first 2 are all about leverage. With expert proof, you're finding someone who's already built a solid reputation, and you're letting their credibility kind of spill over onto you. It's a massive shortcut to trust. Same thing with third-party validation. Slapping a featured-in logo on your site doesn't just say they wrote about us. No,
Subconsciously, it transfers all the trust and authority of that publication directly to you. You are literally borrowing their hard-earned reputation. Now, the other two types of proof are all about making a direct, personal connection with your buyer. Relatable peer proof. Honestly, this is your secret weapon. A testimonial from someone who has the exact same job or the same struggles as your ideal customer. That creates an instant, powerful bond. And quantified proof is your weapon against vague claims. Instead of saying your product saves people time, you say it cuts down manual data entry by 15 hours a week. That specific result is worth so much more than a giant follower count.
All right, we've got the what. Now let's dig into the why. Why is this system so incredibly effective? What's going on in our brains that makes this kind of engineered proof so much more powerful than just a big follower number? This is where we get into the core psychology that this whole system is built on. The whole system really clicks because of a powerful mental shortcut our brains use called the Relatability Heuristic. And here's the secret. A buyer doesn't need to see that a million anonymous people have used your product. What they need to see is that one person, just like them, has used it and gotten the result they want. That single relatable story is more persuasive than a mountain of generic proof because it makes the outcome feel real and achievable for them. And this slide just lays it out perfectly. On the left, you've got the follower fallacy. 1 million followers? Okay, that signals popularity, but it makes the buyer think, sure, they're big, but is this really for me and my specific problem? But on the right, you see the relatability heuristic in action. One great testimonial from a peer triggers a way more powerful thought. Wait a second, if they did it, then I can probably do it too. See how it shifts the whole thing from impersonal stats to personal possibility? And that little spark, that thought of, I can do it too, well, there's a name for that in psychology. It's called self-efficacy. It's simply a person's belief in their own ability to succeed. So when a potential customer sees someone just like them get a great result with your product, it doesn't just sell them on the product, it sells them on their own potential. You're not just offering a tool, you're offering them a credible reason to believe in themselves. And that is so much more powerful. And this brings us right back to the beginning. By boosting that self-efficacy through the power of relatability, these proof signals become that critical safety net we talked about. They directly fight back against that fear of loss aversion. The expert stamp of approval, the peer success story, the hard data from a case study, it all comes together to neutralize that perceived risk. It tells the buyer's cautious brain, hey, this is a safe, vetted, smart choice. And that gives them the confidence to move forward. Okay, so theory is great, but how do you actually do this? We've covered the what and the why, now it's time for the how. This isn't just a concept, it's a real strategy. Let's walk through the 3 core steps you can take to start engineering social proof for your brand, like today. Here's the framework, it's 3 simple steps. First, identify. You have to get really specific. Who does your audience already look up to and trust? Pinpoint that exact person or that type of person. Second, exchange. This is so huge. You can't just go asking for a freebie. You have to create a value exchange. Give them free access, offer to co-write a case study, share some exclusive data. You have to give something to get something. And finally, you quantify. Every single testimonial you get, you have to guide it so it's framed as a clear before and after story that's focused on real, measurable results. And when we talk about quantifying, here's a crucial rule to remember. A truly effective testimonial should be about 80% focused on the outcome, the result, and the emotional relief that result brought. The other 20% can be about the product itself, because people don't buy features, they buy transformations. So instead of a testimonial that says, this software has a great user interface, you want one that says, I used to spend 10 hours a week drowning in spreadsheets. Now I get that same work done in 30 minutes and I'm actually home for dinner. That's the 80% rule in action. As we start to wrap this up, I want to leave you with the one central idea that this entire system is built on. It all comes down to answering one single question that every single one of your customers is asking, whether they say it out loud or not. Who else, like me, has won by using this? Your entire job is to answer that question. Look, the big takeaway here is this. Credibility isn't luck. It's not something you just wait around for, hoping it shows up one day. It is a resource. And just like any other resource, it can be acquired and manufactured strategically. By systematically identifying the right people, exchanging value, and quantifying the results, you stop waiting for trust to arrive. You start building it piece by powerful piece on purpose. And that really leads us to the final thought. The best kind of marketing doesn't push people. It pulls them. It pulls them toward value. And the way it does that is by doing one thing perfectly.
It shows them, with clear, undeniable, and relatable proof, exactly who else has already won. That's social proof engineering. So the only real question left is, who are you going to show winning first?